The elevator doors slid open, and for a second, I thought I was hallucinating. The world went silent. No clinking glasses from the bar, no hotel lobby chatter, just her voice. Clarissa's voice. She was laughing, that low laugh she only makes when she's completely comfortable with someone. But I wasn't supposed to hear that laugh here. Not in this city. Not in this hotel. She was supposed to be on her big work exchange trip, hundreds of miles away. Yet there she was, standing by the hallway near the lounge, her hair down like it always is on nights we used to spend together. And next to her was him. A man I didn't recognize, dressed like he owned the entire place. Their bodies were close, too close, like there was an invisible thread tying them together. I didn't even step out of the elevator. I just stood there, frozen, my thumb hovering over the close doors button. My heart felt like it was going to hammer through my ribcage. I hit the button and let the elevator take me back up, away from whatever I'd just seen, because I didn't know if I could face it. In my room, I ripped my tie off and paced like a lunatic. My mind wouldn't stop replaying that moment. Every smile, every subtle touch, every tilt of her head toward him. It wasn't just work talk. I know her too well for that. My chest burned with the kind of pain that makes you feel sick, like you've swallowed something sharp. I wanted to call her right there. Demand an explanation. But then I thought, if I call, she'll know I'm here. She'll know I've seen something. And maybe I need to know more before I confront her. So I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the hotel room door, my palms sweaty, my phone buzzing with notifications I couldn't even bring myself to check. Every minute that passed made me feel smaller, like I was shrinking inside my own skin. Tonight, I'm going to follow her. I don't care how pathetic that sounds. I need to know who that man is. I sat in my room for what felt like hours, though the clock insisted only 20 minutes had passed. Every sound from the hallway made me jolt. Every door that opened and closed felt like it might be hers. My stomach was twisting so badly that I couldn't tell if I was hungry or just sick. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I needed answers, and I wasn't going to get them by hiding like some coward on the 10th floor. I grabbed my jacket, shoved my room key into my pocket, and walked out into the hallway with a single, shaky plan: find her. The elevator ride down felt like an eternity. I could almost feel the sweat dripping down my back, and all I could picture was her hand on his arm. I hated how it played on repeat in my head, like some cruel loop. When the doors opened onto the lobby, the hotel bar's golden glow spilled out, along with faint music. My heart stopped. She was there, not 10 feet away. I ducked behind one of those oversized fake plants they love to put in hotel lobbies, like some kind of ridiculous spy. Clarissa was sitting at a corner table with him. They weren't just chatting like colleagues. Their heads were tilted close together, voices low, and I could swear I saw her touch his hand. That small, simple gesture made my chest tighten so much I almost turned around and left right then. The man was laughing, leaning back in his chair with the kind of confidence that made my blood boil. Who was he? A manager? Some random guy? I knew I couldn't just stand there forever, so I moved to the bar, taking the farthest seat I could, pretending to browse the drink menu while keeping one eye on them. I must have looked like an absolute idiot, ordering a glass of water just to have something in front of me. They looked happy, too happy. She was smiling in that soft way I hadn't seen in months, like every wall between them had already crumbled. My throat felt dry, and all I wanted was to storm over there, flip the table, and ask her what the hell was going on. But then I thought, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm just imagining things? Then something happened that made me grip the edge of my chair so hard I thought it might snap. He leaned in and whispered something into her ear. She didn't flinch. She didn't move away. Instead, she laughed and rested her hand on his knee under the table. I almost dropped my glass. My breathing turned uneven, like I'd just run a mile. I couldn't think straight anymore. This wasn't just work talk. This wasn't innocent. I felt my whole world tilting. I left the bar before I could do something stupid, but as I walked back to the elevator, I saw them getting up. My pulse skyrocketed. Were they heading to the rooms? Were they? No. I had to know. I waited, pretending to tie my shoe near the hallway, watching which way they went. And when they disappeared around the corner toward the elevators, I knew I was going to follow. I don't even know how I convinced myself that following them was a good idea, but the moment they disappeared around the corner, my legs moved on their own. I stayed far enough behind to avoid being seen, my heart pounding so loud I was certain someone would hear it echoing in the hallway. They were laughing softly as they walked toward the elevators, and every sound felt like a blade twisting deeper into me. I ducked into a side corridor just as they stepped into the elevator. I could only see her hand as she pressed the button, her fingers trembling slightly. Maybe from excitement? That thought nearly sent me into a rage. When the elevator doors closed, I waited a few seconds, then hit the call button on the other one. I didn't even know what floor to go to, so I stood there like a fool, staring at the panel of glowing numbers. My brain was spinning out of control. Part of me wanted to hit every button and search floor by floor, but another part of me screamed that I was about to see something I'd never be able to forget. I picked floor 7 at random, hoping I guessed right, and rode up with my hands shaking so badly I had to stuff them into my pockets. When the doors opened, I stepped into the hallway, straining to hear footsteps or voices. At first, I thought I was wrong. Everything was quiet, too quiet, until I heard faint laughter coming from the far end of the hall. It was muffled but unmistakable. Clarissa. I crept down the hallway, every step feeling heavier than the last. My mind was screaming at me to stop, to turn around, but my body wouldn't listen. And then I saw it. Her scarf, the one I bought her for Christmas last year, lying on the carpet just outside a door. My stomach dropped. My hands hovered over the scarf like it might burn me. What was it doing there? Did she drop it by accident? Or was she in such a hurry that she didn't even notice? I picked it up, my fingers trembling, and stared at the door. Room 718. I don't know how long I stood there, listening like some lunatic, but I swear I heard a low murmur of voices. I couldn't make out the words, but I knew they were in there. I wanted to knock, to kick the door down, to scream. Instead, I pressed my ear against it like some desperate idiot. My breathing was shallow, my heart racing. I heard a man's voice, his, and then her laugh again. But then something strange happened. Her laugh stopped, replaced by a tone I'd never heard from her before. It wasn't flirtatious, it sounded nervous, maybe even scared. I backed away, clutching the scarf so tightly my knuckles went white. My mind was spiraling with 100 questions I couldn't answer. Was I wrong about everything? Was she in trouble? I had to know what was happening in that room, but I didn't want to barge in and make a scene if I was misunderstanding. I ran back to my room and grabbed the spare hotel keycard I'd accidentally been given at check-in. I don't even know why I took it with me. Maybe some stupid idea that it might open their door. My thoughts were a mess, and I was shaking as I went back to the 7th floor, that scarf still in my hand. But when I got there, the hallway was silent. The door was closed, locked, and not a sound came from inside. I was about to give up when I heard something that chilled me to the bone. Footsteps coming up behind me, slow and deliberate. I spun around so fast I nearly lost my balance, clutching that scarf like it could protect me from whatever was coming. And there he was, the man from the bar. He wasn't smiling now. His face was stone cold, his eyes locked on me like he'd known I'd be standing there outside that door. For a moment, neither of us spoke. It was just the hum of the air conditioner and the sound of my own uneven breathing. "What are you doing?" His voice was low, firm, almost too calm, like he wasn't surprised to see me. It wasn't the voice of someone caught off guard. It was the voice of someone who already knew exactly what game he was playing. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. My throat was dry, and I could feel my pulse hammering in my ears. I stammered, but he cut me off with a small, cold smile. "You shouldn't be here," he said, stepping closer. He wasn't threatening me outright, but there was something in his tone that made my skin crawl. It was like he wasn't even talking about me being outside his room. He was talking about something bigger, like I'd stumbled into a situation I couldn't possibly understand. Before I could react, the door to room 718 cracked open behind me. I turned just in time to see Clarissa's face peek out, her expression frozen in shock. Her eyes darted between me and the man, and for a moment, the hallway felt like it was holding its breath. "Harold?" she whispered, her voice breaking on my name like it was something heavy. She didn't sound angry. She sounded scared. I saw you." I blurted out, every word shaky. "In the bar. With him. What the hell is going on, Clarissa? What is this?" She didn't answer. She looked pale, her hand tightening on the doorframe as if she was about to collapse. "You need to leave," she whispered, glancing at the man again. "Please, just go?" That "please" cut through me like a knife. It wasn't the kind of "please" you say when you're caught doing something wrong. It was desperate, like she was begging me not to get involved. And that made me even more confused. The man stepped forward, placing himself between us. "This isn't your business," he said, his voice steady and measured. "Go back to your room. Now." I wanted to scream at him, shove him, anything. But something in his eyes stopped me, something sharp and calculating, like he wasn't just some random guy flirting with my wife. My brain was spiraling, trying to piece together a puzzle that didn't make sense. "Clarissa, talk to me," I said, my voice cracking. "What is going on here? Who is this guy? Why didn't you tell me you were here?" She opened her mouth, but before she could speak, the man turned to her and said something in a low tone I couldn't catch. Whatever he said made her flinch. Then she shut the door, just like that, leaving me in the hallway with him. I didn't move. Neither did he. We just stared at each other, and I swear I felt something shift, like I wasn't just a husband catching his wife with another man. It felt bigger, darker, like I'd walked into a secret I wasn't supposed to see. Finally, he smiled. Not a warm smile, but something cold and knowing, and said, "Go back to your room, Harold. You'll only make this worse." And then, without another word, he turned and went back inside. The door closed. The hallway was silent again, but my head was spinning with 100 questions. Worse, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't the only one watching them, that someone else in this hotel was watching me. I don't know how long I stood in that hallway, staring at the door after it closed. Maybe a minute, maybe 10. My thoughts were tangled so tightly I couldn't separate one from the other. All I knew was that every fiber of my body screamed that something wasn't right, that this wasn't just about my wife and some guy. The way she looked at me, pale, terrified, almost pleading, made me feel like I'd just stumbled into something I wasn't supposed to see. I went back to my room, but I couldn't stay still. My hands were trembling so badly that I spilled half the glass of water I poured from the hotel pitcher. I kept replaying everything in my head. The way he stood between us, the way she couldn't get a single word out, the way her voice cracked when she said, "Please." That wasn't the face of someone caught cheating. That was the face of someone trapped. I tried calling her, and of course, she didn't answer. Not once. I sent message after message, each one getting more frantic. "Who is he? Why are you here? Clarissa, talk to me, please." All I got was silence. By midnight, I'd had enough of sitting there like a coward. I slipped out of my room and went back down to the lobby, hoping I'd catch sight of her, or him, or anything that made sense. The bar was empty. The staff barely looked up as I passed, but there was a tension in the air I couldn't explain. Like people knew something I didn't. I walked past the reception desk, pretending to be on the phone, and glanced at the room directory on the computer screen behind the counter. Most rooms had names assigned to them: guests, conference bookings, standard hotel stuff. But 718, the room they were in, was blank. No name, no record, like it didn't exist. A chill ran down my spine. I asked the night clerk casually if someone named Clarissa Richards was staying here, just to see what they'd say. The clerk frowned and said, "I'm sorry, I don't have anyone by that name in our system." That's when I felt something snap inside me. Either I was going crazy, or something about this place was seriously wrong. I decided to test it. I took the elevator back to the 7th floor and walked down the hallway again. This time, the door to 718 looked different. There was no number on it, just a blank door. I know it sounds insane, but I swear I'm not imagining this. I placed my ear against it and heard nothing, just silence, like the room wasn't even occupied. I tried the handle. Locked. I slid the spare key card I'd been given just to see what would happen. The light on the lock flashed red. My heart sank, and I turned to leave, but just as I reached the elevator, I heard something behind me. A click. I spun around, and the door to 718 was cracked open an inch. No voices, no movement. Just that eerie silence. My stomach knotted up, but I couldn't help myself. I stepped closer and pushed it open. The room was dark, except for a faint glow coming from the bathroom. I stepped inside, calling her name in a whisper, but no one answered. My eyes adjusted to the dim light, and that's when I saw it. On the bed, there was a suitcase. Not hers. It was a man's suitcase, half open, clothes neatly folded inside. On the table, there was a phone. Not a regular phone. A burner, the kind you buy from a gas station. Before I could process any of it, I heard footsteps behind me. Slow, heavy, deliberate. I turned, and there he was. The man. The moment I turned and saw him standing there in the doorway, my blood ran cold. He wasn't surprised to find me in the room. In fact, he looked like he'd been expecting me all along. His expression was calm, disturbingly calm, like someone who had all the time in the world to deal with me. The soft glow from the bathroom light behind him threw his face into sharp relief. His jaw was tight, his eyes dark and unreadable. "Harold," he said, and the sound of my name coming out of his mouth made my stomach twist. I had never told him my name. I never introduced myself. I felt a wave of nausea hit me as he stepped inside, closing the door behind him with a deliberate, almost mocking slowness. "How do you—" I started, but my voice cracked. "How do you know who I am?" He didn't answer right away. He looked around the room like he was checking to make sure everything was where it should be, like I was just some minor inconvenience to him. Then he turned to me, and for the first time, I noticed something unsettling about his eyes. They were too calm, too focused, like he was analyzing me, dissecting me in real time. "You shouldn't have come in here," he said softly, but there was nothing gentle in the way he said it. "This isn't for you." "What the hell are you talking about?" I snapped, my voice shaking. "Where's my wife? What are you doing with her?" He smirked, just a faint curl of his lips, and walked over to the bed, completely ignoring my question. He picked up the burner phone and turned it over in his hands like it was some kind of talisman. "Clarissa is safe," he said, finally looking up at me. "Safer than she'd be if you kept digging into things you don't understand." That was it for me. My fear turned into something sharper, a kind of rage that boiled over before I could stop it. I stepped closer, my fists clenched. "Don't play games with me," I growled. "If you've done something to her." "Or what?" He cut me off. He tilted his head slightly, his smile widening. "You think you're going to stop me? You don't even know what's happening here, Harold. You've seen a few pieces of the puzzle, and already you're falling apart." His tone was infuriatingly calm, like I was a child throwing a tantrum. I wanted to hit him, but something about the way he stood there, unafraid, perfectly still, made me hesitate. It was like he knew I wouldn't dare. "What do you mean, puzzle?" I demanded. "What is this? What is this room? Why does it have no record at the front desk? Why is my wife here with you?" He chuckled, and I hated the sound of it. "Do you really think she told you everything about this trip? About why she's here? Clarissa is involved in something, Harold. Something that doesn't concern you. You were never supposed to be here." I stared at him, my mind spinning. None of this made sense. I wanted to call him a liar, to accuse him of everything I was thinking, but then he stepped closer, so close I could feel the heat radiating off him. He lowered his voice and said, "If you care about her, you'll go back to your room and forget you saw any of this. Tonight. Right now." My throat tightened. There was something in his voice, a weight behind the words, that made my legs want to give out. I swallowed hard, gripping the scarf in my hand like it could anchor me. "What are you going to do to her?" I whispered. His eyes narrowed, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of something. Anger, maybe even fear. "That depends," he said slowly. "On you." Before I could ask what he meant, the door behind him creaked open, and Clarissa stepped inside. Her face was pale, her lips pressed into a thin line. She looked between us, her eyes wide. "Harold," she said quietly, almost like she was pleading. "Please, just come with me. I'll explain everything, but not here. Not now." I wanted to believe her, but the way she glanced at the man, like she was silently asking permission, made me sick. Something was terribly, terribly wrong. The tension in that room was so thick I could feel it pressing against my chest. Clarissa's voice was trembling, and her eyes darted between me and the man like she was walking a tightrope. She stepped closer to me, and for a moment, I felt that familiar warmth from her presence, but it was buried under layers of fear and something I couldn't quite place. Guilt, maybe. She reached for my hand, but I pulled back instinctively, gripping the scarf so tightly that my knuckles ached. "Harold, please," she said, her voice almost breaking. "I swear I can explain, but not here. We can't talk here. You don't understand what's going on, and if you stay in this room 1 second longer, you're putting both of us in danger." I stared at her like she was speaking another language. "Danger? Clarissa, what the hell are you talking about? Who is this guy? What's happening? Did you lie to me about this trip?" She opened her mouth, but before she could answer, the man, still standing unnervingly calm by the bed, spoke up. "She told you enough. You don't need to know more, Harold." "Shut up," I snapped, surprising even myself with the anger in my voice. I turned back to her. I'm your husband, Clarissa. I have every right to know why my wife is sneaking around a hotel with a stranger and looking at me like she's afraid I'll get her killed. What the hell is going on? Her face softened for a split second, like she wanted to tell me everything. But then I saw her jaw tighten. It's not what you think, she whispered. This isn't about you or us. This is about something I can't tell you. Not yet. I got involved in something at work, something big, something I can't get out of. Something big. I repeated, my voice trembling with both rage and confusion. What is that supposed to mean? Is he your boss? Is he blackmailing you? Are you? No, she interrupted, her voice sharp and panicked. It's not like that. It's, Harold, I need you to trust me. Just this once. You have to leave this hotel. You have to act like you never saw me tonight. I can't explain, but if you stay here, if you push this, you'll ruin everything. I laughed bitterly, though there was nothing funny about any of this. Trust you? Clarissa, I've spent the past day thinking you were having an affair. I followed you here because I didn't know what else to think. And now you're telling me this guy knows my name. This room isn't even on the hotel's records, and you can't tell me why you're here? Do you realize how insane this sounds? The man sighed, like he was getting bored. Enough, he said, and there was a tone of finality in his voice that made the hair on my arms stand up. Harold, you're leaving now. I'm giving you that chance. Don't waste it. Clarissa turned to him and shook her head. No, let me. Clarissa, he said sharply, and she froze. He didn't raise his voice, but the way he said her name made my blood run cold. It was like he wasn't just telling her what to do. He was reminding her of something she was terrified of. She looked back at me, her eyes glistening. Harold, please. If you love me, just go. Tonight. Let me fix this. I didn't move. I couldn't. My legs were like lead, and my brain was screaming at me that something was horribly wrong here. And then, in that silence, I caught a glimpse of something I hadn't noticed before. A black folder on the desk, half covered by a jacket. It had a symbol stamped on it, something I didn't recognize, but that looked official, almost like a government seal. My gut twisted as I realized this might not just be some personal mess. What is that? I asked, pointing to the folder. Both of them froze, just for a second, but that was all I needed. I saw it, the panic in Clarissa's eyes, the sudden tension in his posture. That folder was important, maybe dangerous. And I knew right then that I wasn't leaving. Not yet. The moment I saw that black folder, something inside me snapped. I realized I couldn't just walk away. My wife was in the middle of something terrifying, and I wasn't about to let her face it alone. Before either of them could react, I lunged forward and grabbed the folder from the desk. My hands were shaking, but I flipped it open anyway, ignoring the sharp warning in the man's voice. What I saw inside wasn't anything I could have imagined. It wasn't love letters or evidence of an affair. It was documents, official reports, diagrams, and something that looked like a contract with Clarissa's name on it. The pages were stamped with a logo I didn't recognize, but the bold letters at the top read, Federal Witness Relocation Program. My heart stopped. I looked up at Clarissa, completely lost. She stepped closer, her face pale, but her eyes finally steady, as if the weight of the secret she'd been carrying was too heavy to hold any longer. Harold, she said softly, it's not what you think. I've been working with them. I had to keep it from you, for your safety. I wasn't having an affair, I was helping them. I didn't tell you because if anyone found out, we'd both be in danger. The man, now calmer, stepped forward and placed a hand on the folder, gently but firmly taking it from me. She's telling the truth, he said. Clarissa's company got tangled up in a major case. Corruption, fraud, things that go much deeper than you know. She agreed to help us as part of an investigation, but it meant she had to keep it secret, even from you. We were here tonight because she was scheduled to hand over some critical evidence. I just stood there, frozen, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place. Every strange look, every nervous moment over the last few weeks, it wasn't guilt from cheating. It was fear. She wasn't pulling away from me because she stopped loving me. She was trying to protect me. Clarissa reached out and grabbed my hands, her grip tight and desperate. I'm so sorry, Harold. I wanted to tell you every single day, but I couldn't. You have no idea how many times I almost cracked. You mean everything to me, and keeping this from you has been killing me inside. I swallowed hard, my anger melting away into something else. Relief, maybe even pride. I pulled her into a hug, and for the first time in months, I felt her truly exhale against me, like she could finally breathe again. The man, who I now understood was some kind of federal agent, gave me a nod. She did the right thing. And so did you, by showing up. Just don't do anything like this again. Let us handle the rest. We left that room together, hand in hand. The hallway that had once felt like a trap now felt like a way out. We spent the rest of the night talking in my room, really talking. She told me everything she could, and I listened, realizing how wrong I'd been to doubt her. By morning, the storm inside me had cleared. Clarissa wasn't just my wife. She was the bravest person I knew. We checked out of the hotel together, a new kind of bond between us. Whatever challenges we had before felt so small compared to what we just faced. And for the first time in a long time, I knew we were going to be okay.